All Indiana Politics is your premier source for Indiana politics, focusing on issues that matter to you.
I still want us to be the best in the Midwest.
We can't afford another lockdown.
Give the citizens of this country the relief they need.
Education in the state of Indiana remains priority number one.
In-depth, nonpartisan coverage.
We don't know exactly where the economy will be in January.
People are worried with good reason.
Exclusive interviews with Indiana's political leaders.
We have the resources here in the state of Indiana to care for those who are in need.
Expert analysis on critical legislation.
We need to reform those laws.
This recovery is going to take some time.
We've got to anticipate that there'll be a budget shortfall.
From Wish TV, this is All Indiana Politics Podcast on the All Indiana Podcast Network.
Good Sunday morning. Welcome to another edition of All Indiana Politics. I'm Phil Sanchez. You're already guaranteed at least 3 choices for Senate in November of 2024. Andy Horning is the first major libertarian to join the race. He talked to our government reporter, Garrett Berquist.
Let's bring in Libertarian Senate candidate Andrew Horning. Andrew, thank you for dropping by today.
Thank you.
So why are you running for the Libertarian nomination for U.S. Senate?
I have run as a Republican before, but I think our biggest problem in America today is the unconstitutional, inherently divisive two-party system our founders warned us against. And I believe that the libertarian message is something that really is what this nation is supposed to be all about. And that is, government on a leash and having us with maximum freedom. And who else is going to speak about that as a constitutionalist? And that's what I've been all about for decades now.
You've run for other offices before, including Congress and the governor's seat. You have not been successful. What keeps you coming back?
Let's put this frankly. Most of us don't like what we've got. Most of us, including people who don't vote, have chosen this voluntarily. So either we have actively voted for what we say we don't like, or we have let others make the decision for us. And I've heard from enough people now that when I talk to them and they like what I have to say, and they tell me in a most frustrating fashion, gosh, Andy, I wish I could vote for you. I put the offer out. That's really all I can do.
You've written about, in your own words, standing down the military-industrial complex. You've also said that we need to focus on the threat that's posed by China. How do you propose to do both at the same time?
Just by our policies alone, we have done immense damage to ourselves by allowing Chinese politics to infect our politics, to allow, Chinese politicians to buy our politicians. And the corruption in our government is a much bigger threat than even China presents. If we were to get ourselves in order, if we were to do what we're supposed to do and be a model of liberty and justice for all, for others to emulate, then China would not be nearly the threat that it is today. Of course, if it comes down to what's really going to happen, China, all they really have to do is take out our command and control system in order for us to be sort of blind to whatever they're going to be doing to take back Taiwan, which is their ultimate goal. And we have allowed them to achieve supremacy in space and a lot of espionage and in terms of taking our technology. And we've been concentrating on conventional warfare, which is not at all what they've been about. They've really been the sort of model of Sun Tzu, where they don't care so much about winning military battles as they do winning the war without firing a shot.
How do you define constitutional rule of law? You've made that central to your campaign.
And really what the constitutions are about, state and federal, by the way, it's a design for civil society that allows for maximum freedom, maximum justice, by self-government, mostly. Government is supposed to do very few things at either the state or the federal level. And it's laid out exactly what they can do, and everything else is forbidden. That is that's sort of the essence of Amendment 10 of the Federal Constitution and Article 1, Section 25 of the Indiana Constitution. So we are supposed to be more self-governed, more self-sufficient, and interdependent in a good way with commerce and with society than our government currently allows now. As we saw with the unconstitutional lockdowns and so on, our government has taken tremendous power to destroy, and it is not supposed to have that kind of power to say, you're important, you're not important, we're going to shut down your business, we're going to promote your business. They're using government power to pick winners and losers, and generally speaking, that makes most of us losers compared to what we ought to be. We have lost freedom. We have lost opportunities. And I'm all about getting that back through restraining our government to only what is actually authorized by the constitutions.
The Dobbs ruling explicitly turned the issue of abortion policy over to Congress and the state legislatures. Should there be a federal law on abortion, either prohibiting or regulating it?
The issue between the states really is that when there's an abortion that crosses state lines, then the states might complain, and that happens. That is a court issue. That should not even make it to legislation, because that should be treated as individual cases. And that's another situation where our legal system has been perverted into another lawmaking body. Like we have executive agencies that now write laws, and that they write most of our laws, and they're not supposed to write any. And what's not supposed to happen is court cases are not supposed to become universally applicable law. So when there is an issue between states, if that one state bans abortion and the other one promotes it and pays for it, there will of course be issues between the states, and that will have to be worked out on individual bases by court decisions. That should not ever allow, murder isn't even a federal issue. So if you're looking at what the federal government is supposed to do, it's not supposed to do very much. The states are supposed to be sovereign entities. And in fact, the Indiana Constitution claims for itself, in writing, all the powers necessary of a sovereign state.
There's a real chance that Joe Biden and Donald Trump will be the major party presidential nominees next year. How do you get through to voters who might look at that and decide to vote straight ticket just to keep the other guy's party out of office?
So we know this is a corrupt system, and yet we keep thinking, oh, I vote for the politician, not the party. Nobody really does that. If you vote for any Democrat or any Republican, you are voting for a system of corruption that is wide and vast and now quite global. And so when we're talking about this tribalism, this big tug of war that has us going at each other's throats needlessly, first of all, that's not really what we're voting for. We're voting for a corrupt crony crime network, is really what any Democrat or Republican candidate has chosen to represent. And having run as a Republican myself, I can tell you for sure that any Republican or Democrat who gets elected will be powerless to fix it. Only voters can fix this. And only voters can fix it by choosing something else and letting everybody know that we are tired of this system.
Good conversation there. Coming up, a state lawmaker gives us an up-close look at how the White House is marking Juneteenth. Welcome back. Tomorrow is Juneteenth. It marks the day the last enslaved Americans were freed in 1865. It became a national holiday 2 years ago. This year, the White House held its first ever Juneteenth concert. State Representative Cherish Pryor was among the guests, and she talked to our Garrett Berquist about the occasion.
Let's welcome in State Representative Cherish Pryor. Representative, thank you for letting us drop by today.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
So you got to attend the first ever White House Juneteenth concert. Tell me how that came about.
It came about because I am the national treasurer for the National Black Caucus with state legislators, and we were invited as officers to attend the event at the White House.
How did it feel to see Juneteenth get that kind of recognition?
It felt wonderful. It was a long time coming, and I'm just very appreciative to the fact that it's now getting the national recognition that it deserves, elevating what it actually means, what Juneteenth actually means, I think is something that the country really needed to know and to hear about it. So I'm very thankful that we had the opportunity to experience that at the White House.
Tell me a little bit more about the concert and the event itself.
Well, the concert was wonderful. We had a mixture of a lot of things. We had a couple of historical black universities and colleges that were there, and we did the Battle of the Bands, which is historic to black colleges and universities. We also had gospel choirs from one of the universities to attend. We had some stepping that was there, and we also had national performers that were there as well, like Jennifer Hudson and Letticy, as well as some operatic singers. So it was an array of entertainment, which not only was the commemoration of the Juneteenth celebration, but also recognition of Black History Month as well.
What meaning does Juneteenth hold for you personally?
For me, it holds an opportunity for people to know that even though African Americans were freed because of the Emancipation Proclamation, people were not aware of that. And so for 2 years, African Americans were still being treated as slaves. And so just to have something that recognizes that even sometimes people have their rights, they don't always know their rights because it's hidden from them. So Juneteenth to me means a recognition of our history, an opportunity for us to acknowledge and move forward, and then to make sure that the racism that happened years ago, and racism that still happens today is something that we need to know, understand, and try to resolve.
That leads me to my next question. What role do you see Juneteenth playing in the national conversation around the struggles that Black Americans face today?
I think it plays a significant role. I think that one role that it can play is for us to make sure that people are educated about the history of the country and the role racism played in that. It also serves as an opportunity for us to try to address the racism that is occurring and try to alleviate that. It's an opportunity for us to embrace diversity and inclusion as well, and to not see people who are different from us as a threat, but an opportunity for us to learn and an opportunity for us to expand our horizon, which is something that I think some people aren't comfortable with. Some people are not comfortable with difference. Some people are not comfortable with changes. And I think we're stronger when we embrace the differences of other people, and we acknowledge that people are not going to think the same that we think. Some people come from different backgrounds. But those backgrounds are what makes this country great, and if we can embrace those changes from the African American community, from all communities, then that's only going to make this country stronger.
What should people here in Indiana and around the country do to try to maintain the spirit of Juneteenth throughout the year?
I think one thing that people can do is go to and attend events. I think people can educate themselves even more about what happened and why Juneteenth is important. And I think the other thing that people can do is expand their minds and be open to changing any deep-seated racism or biases that folks may have. Be open to change as well.
Would you like to attend future White House Juneteenth events?
Oh, absolutely. I am completely honored that I was at the first event. The fact that I can say that years down the road that I actually attended the first event, Juneteenth, at the White House, that's something that's always going to be with me. So I will be happy to attend future Juneteenth celebrations as well as other celebrations at the White House. It's an honor not just to attend Juneteenth celebration at the White House, but anytime you get an invitation, a personal invitation from the President and the First Lady of the United States to attend any event at the White House is an amazing honor.
Coming up, Indiana's Best Political Team explains the stakes former President Donald Trump now faces. And welcome back to All Indiana Politics as we welcome in two members of Indiana's Best Political Team, Republican Allie Bartlett and Democrat Destiny Wells. We begin with former President Donald Trump's classified documents case, ladies. He pleaded not guilty, as you know, to charges that he violated laws surrounding those documents. Then he held a rally where he claimed the documents were his and he had every right to keep them. Some of his lawyers have quit. Allie, you're a practicing attorney. I want to start with you. Are Trump's actions over the past few days digging him further still into a legal hole here?
Okay. Ways you can look at this. Of course, if you're Donald Trump's legal team, you're not thrilled about the fact that he's going out and having a rally where he's talking about details of his legal case. I think that is never an attorney's dream come true in any situation. However, I will say that when we're looking at this from a holistic view, what's happening here with this witch hunt that we are on with Donald Trump is that it is only serving to fire up his base more and more. Every time there's a court hearing, every time there's something going on with this case, his base is fired up. He's raking in the fundraising dollars. And so that's where he's trying to make his play. And that's what's going on here.
So that's the political standpoint, right? Destiny, you have a military intelligence background. How damaging are the documents described in the indictment? And how might that affect a potential prison term?
Well, not only do I have a background in intelligence, I'm also an attorney too. So I do agree with Allie that this is an unwieldy client that I don't think a lot of attorneys would want to represent. And we in fact saw that happen. The gravity of the 37 counts, being a former military soldier that has that background, I find it horrible, right, that the former president would put in danger my community. It is so important that our laws continue to protect our national defense information. And so I fully stand behind the special prosecutor in pursuing this case. And I don't think it's anything like a witch hunt. It is just a violation of the law, and it will play itself out in court.
Do you think it's hurting or helping him politically, Destiny?
So what you saw was him do a quick pivot right out of the courtroom and start disparaging the special prosecutor. He's disparaged judges in the past. He's going to do everything that he can to try to fundraise, but it is going to dig himself further and further into a hole as the defendant in a criminal case. So I think it will hurt him in the end.
Okay, well, obviously we'll see what happens with that. Let's switch to more local politics. This weekend, organizers of the Wonder Road Music Fest in Indianapolis declared the event a gun-free zone. Mayor Joe Hogsett recently unveiled a policy, as you know, that lets private event promoters do that. Destiny, Mayor Hogsett says that this is part of his violence reduction strategy. But what is your response to those who say declaring an event like this a gun-free zone will make it only more of a target?
Right. Well, I will be there. I'll be seeing Weezer on Saturday night, Jason Isbell on Sunday. Hey, this is a private event on public property. It's actually in the past, like last year, didn't allow guns. And so what this gun-free policy allows the mayor to do is to actually send in more police. There will be scanning for weapons upon entry. So it should be safer, right? And when and if there was an event like this, you have the police there to respond. So you can't really talk out both sides of your mouth wanting increased police force, but then, criticizing policies that put them in place.
Allie, I'll let you respond to that, but could this also open up the city to lawsuits by people with concealed carry permits?
So I actually don't fully disagree with Destiny on this. I will say that they do have a right. From my brief bit of research on the event, it looks like this event is being hosted by a private company, just happens to be at a public park. So a private company like that hosting an event does have a right to designate it a gun-free or weapon-free zone. So as far as from a from a legal perspective, I don't think that there is much of a liability there. I think the only thing I don't like about it is making it into a political discussion. And so insofar as that has not happened, I don't really think this is much of a problem, to be honest.
Okay, so the General Assembly, ladies, and I have about a minute and a half left, revealed its list of summer study committees topics. This is for both of you. I want to get both of you in on this. What's the one that you're watching most closely, and are there any missed opportunities? Allie, you go first. About 30 seconds to you.
Yeah, so I think we're going to obviously continue to see a lot of discussion about healthcare costs and healthcare insurance. I'm excited to see the discussion about adult cannabis use continue. Missed opportunities, selfishly, I would say that there was missed opportunity on iGaming and interactive gaming initiatives to expand that in the state of Indiana. And then to see more on child services, I think would have been a good opportunity as well.
Destiny, 30 seconds, take us home.
Big pluses: affordable housing, broadband, some of the juvenile sentencing. Big misses: no education or environment committee studies. We have some of the worst air quality and water quality in the nation. We are expanding vouchers, but then we're not doing any of the research behind it.
Well, there you go. Ladies, good to see you. Thank you for joining us. We'll be right back.
Take All Indiana Politics on the go with you. Download our podcast now. Part of the All Indiana Podcast Network and allindianapodcastnetwork.com.
Thank you for joining us for All Indiana Politics. We'll be back here next Sunday morning at 9:30. You can also find our brand new All Indiana Politics podcast. It's part of the All Indiana Podcast Network over at wishtv.com. Have a great rest of your weekend.
From Wish TV, this is All Indiana Politics Podcast on the All Indiana Podcast Network. Watch All Indiana Politics live Sunday mornings at 9:30 on Wish TV and at wishtv.com. Subscribe to this podcast and listen weekly here on the All Indiana Podcast Network. And be sure to discover even more great podcasts at allindianapodcastnetwork.com.